Yeah, it's a good example for it. I mean, they're trying, like I said, I think some people want it to be bigger than it is. I think what makes this area special is like, face your good self.
All right, we're going to get this Economic Development Committee meeting going here. It's March 5th, 4:30 p.m., and we have a great agenda coming your way. First and foremost, we have courtesy of the floor. Is there anybody that wishes to address the Economic Development Committee? Seeing none, we have two presentations that are going to be given. Can't wait to see and hear from both of these. The first is going to be a presentation from the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission on Northampton County's development in 2025, what we saw, the work that they did, and we're even going to discuss what may be coming in the future. So I'd like to invite the members of the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission up. I'm thinking the Executive Director, Becky Bradley, will kick us off with the presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us today. So a lot happened last year, but before we dive in, I know you know some of my colleagues, but some of them you may not. So I'll introduce everybody because they're going to be giving you different parts of the presentation. Who does not know Matt Assad, our managing editor, and Jill Seitz, our chief community and regional planner, Susan Myeroff, our director of environmental planning, Steve Weber, our new director of transportation planning. He joined us in January, and then Jacob Weinberg, who is our community and regional planner, and you just joined us January too? January as well. So we wanted you to meet a couple of the new folks as well. So I'll just
Appreciate you all being here. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll just jump in. At your place is a hard copy of the annual report. We are required to report on activities to all of you per the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code as your county planning commission by March 1 every year. So we posted this to our website on February 20th and then did a large email campaign around it and are now distributing the hard copies for all the VIPs. So we do activities on behalf of not only you, but on Lehigh County, on behalf of Lehigh County, and then some of our contract partners like PennDOT and the U.S. Department of Transportation. Tonight is the first presentation to the both counties. Yours is first, and then we'll be at the Lehigh County Commissioners, and I think they moved us onto a committee. Matt, is that correct?
They have, yes.
Yeah, that just happened.
A little earlier in the night.
Little earlier in the night, but we'll be there on March 11th giving them their information as well. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Matt to talk about one of the coolest things we got to do last year.
Yes, the Employment and Population Report is really one of our most popular products. And Dr. Sabam Karel and economist Minsu Park, they built their own machine learning model to sort of do what we think is the most accurate forecast that we've ever done. They're pretty brilliant. It's like magic to me, but it's awesome. You can see that we're going to gain about 108,000 people by 2050, and that's about a 19% increase from now. And we're actually going to grow faster in jobs, about 25%. It's about 80,000 jobs. In Northampton County, that's about 55,000 more people and 30 jobs. And the economy is going to be driven by healthcare, social assistance, transportation and warehousing, manufacturing, and retail trade. And as you see, with employment growing faster, we actually have become a net importer of workers. It used to be 7 or 8 years ago, about 5,000 more people left the valley every day to work than came here, and now it's flipped. It's now about 4,800 people extra come here. And I'm going to turn it over to Jill, and she's going to tell you about some of the impacts of having all these folks coming here.
Thanks, Matt. In 2025, LVPC reviewed over 930 reviews, which included 487 subdivision and land development plans, 168 regulatory stormwater management reviews, and 22 traffic impact or assessment reviews. Municipal ordinance, map, and comprehensive plan reviews also remained elevated last year, with 49 proposals reviewed over the year across the region. Those reviews were very evenly split between Lehigh and Northampton counties, with a total of 498 in Lehigh and 434 reviews in Northampton. Northampton County municipalities were very active with ordinance updates, reflecting communities thoughtfully addressing growth, emerging land uses, housing needs, and infrastructure capacity. Importantly, much of this work aligns with the direction set in Future LV, the regional plan, which calls for coordinated growth in areas served by infrastructure, protection of rural and agricultural lands, and proactive planning for evolving industries. So one major theme that we saw last year was strategic rezoning to support targeted development and accommodate growth, where municipalities were aligning their zoning with desired investment or reinvestment areas. For example, in Forks Township, they established 2 overlays based on where they had existing infrastructure and also where they didn't have existing infrastructure to help better identify where development should go versus where it should not. Another significant trend was addressing emerging industrial and energy uses, particularly data centers, and on-site power generation. So that shows us that municipalities are not waiting for the proposals to dictate their regulations and policies. They are building regulatory frameworks in advance. And through these ordinance reviews, LVPC works closely with municipalities to ensure proposed updates are consistent with the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code, coordinated with adjacent communities, and aligned with Future LV. And that coordination helps reduce conflicts, it improves defensibility of their regulations, and ensures that infrastructure, land use, and environmental considerations are evaluated comprehensively and not in isolation. And beyond ordinance and plan reviews, LVPC also performs a variety of other reviews to fulfill county, state, and federal requirements. Last year, LVPC provided 29 grant consistency letters requested by Northampton County communities, most of those supporting water and sewer infrastructure improvements or recreation and open space projects. With the Lehigh Valley's population and employment growing faster than ever, our 2025 development trends show that we are adapting to that momentum. We reviewed just under 6,000 housing units across the region, which matches the accelerated rate of growth that we really saw pick up during the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020. While apartments remain the majority of those new units, townhouse proposals have grown to match the rate of single-family detached units as communities shift towards intentional densification as a means of growing more efficiency and retaining their open space. It is of note that if all 5,891 housing units are built, that would significantly reduce the region's current housing shortage, which is 9,000 units. However, with the remaining shortage of units, as well as that consistent population growth that Matt mentioned, unit production at price points for everyone does still remain a challenge. Excuse me. In Northampton County, single-family townhouse and twin units made up a much greater share of units proposed, collectively surpassing the amount of apartments. In particular, City of Bethlehem and Easton have seen substantial residential activity in the form of apartments, but the county's townships, Palmer and Bethlehem, also experienced steady residential proposal volumes, reflecting their established suburban character and proximity to employment centers. And because of all of the region's housing challenges, over the last year, our housing work resonated at the national, state, and local levels. Nationally, we were honored by the National Association of Regional Councils with an award for our housing dashboard, which regions across the country are now using as a model to better inform public policy decisions. At the state level, we hosted the Governor's Housing Roundtable, helping to shape their recently released Pennsylvania Housing Action Plan. And we also participated in the Urban Land Institute's Commonwealth-wide housing exchange to share best practices across the state. And then, of course, locally, through our housing supply and attainability strategy, we convened hundreds of cross-sector partners to align around common goals and begin to identify actionable solutions for the Lehigh Valley. While that regional housing strategy was paid for by Lehigh County on behalf of the region, we did do the same housing shortage and zoning analysis for Northampton County communities. And we wanted to just briefly demonstrate that dashboard and how it functions for the community. So we created this dashboard to allow residents, local governments, developers, anybody in the public to select their community and see what each individual community needs as far as housing. So one of the most important stats for the community is their current shortage and their projected shortage by the year 2050. And so the dashboard allows users to select any municipality. In this instance, we selected Bethlehem Township. So right away at the top, where you see the larger pink numbers in the top left, the dashboard shows the community's current shortage is about 310 housing units, which means that right now that township has a very low housing unit vacancy, making it difficult for the township to accommodate its growth, its growing population. And it also makes it more difficult for their current residents to have mobility options within the community that they live in throughout all of their life stages. And then, of course, next to that, we also included the analysis based on population projections, which gives communities an understanding of what their long-term scale of housing demands will be. And then another important section of the dashboard I wanted to highlight looks at housing affordability relative to housing incomes and occupations. And so on the far right side of the dashboard, the chart compares typical housing costs with the wages earned by common occupations across the region. And so what it shows is that many essential workers, including teachers, healthcare workers, retail employees, often earn incomes that would not comfortably support the cost of purchasing or renting housing within the community. And the dashboard similarly shows how affordable housing prices are to the average Lehigh Valley household through all life stages, from an entry-level wage employee to a household in their peak earning years and seniors. So taken all together, these indicators help answer an important question for municipalities, which is whether or not their housing supply is keeping pace with the needs of the people who live and work here. And it was a very important step in informing the community throughout the housing strategy process. And so next I'm going to hand it over to Jacob to talk about more regional collaboration.
We have several multi-municipal planning efforts continuing to build on their momentum in 2025. In Slate Belt, 7 communities adopted their first shared plan and are now coordinating zoning and official map updates. They selected Hailstone Economics as their consultant. The LVPC is helping manage the consultant, and we attend every Slate Belt meeting to contribute to the planning, expertise, and regional perspective. That project kicked off in January of this year. We're hoping to work towards a 2027 adoption. In River Central, 5 municipalities are nearly finished jointly updating their ordinances to implement their newly adopted 2024 multi-municipal plan. This is the region's first multi-municipal group spanning both counties, with Catasauqua and Hanover in Lehigh County, and East Allen, North Catasauqua, and Northampton Borough in Northampton counties. Those ordinance updates are wrapping up, and we'll be reviewing them prior to the adoption in the next couple months. We may have another multi-municipal plan joining in 2026, so hopefully we'll have more updates for that in the future. And then finally, these multi-municipal plans are critical for guiding regulations on emerging land uses like data centers and helping promote regional growth across municipal boundaries, as well as addressing regional collaborational issues like stormwater and housing. Multi-municipal planning gives the communities also an advantage when navigating evolving development landscapes. In 2025, the region's commercial activity remains stable, with 1.3 million square feet proposed to serve a growing population. Projects include banks, restaurants, convenience retail, car washes, service centers, and hotels, largely concentrated in the designated growth areas. Public and quasi-public investment also totaled 1.3 million square feet, including school expansions, hospitals and medical offices, utility upgrades, and police and fire facilities, reflecting the rising service demands in the area. Industrial development led non-residential activity by 7.2 million square feet, though trends are shifting. Freight and logistics buildings are getting smaller, some warehouse sites have transitioned to other uses, and manufacturers are reinvesting locally. Emerging data center proposals are promoting communities to plan sustainable upgrades to power, water, transmission, and broadband infrastructure to support the technology-driven growth. In Northampton County, non-residential development was more geographically dispersed but still significant. Commercial proposals ranged from the county's cities, townships, and boroughs and included numerous convenience stores like Wawa and Sheetz, self-storage facilities, banks, and auto-oriented uses like car washes and car service centers. Industrial proposals included warehouses and manufacturing that were small scale, often closer to 300,000 square feet or less, and proposed infill within the existing industrial area, though a few townships such as Allen, Moore, and Lehigh also had solar farm proposals. Several Northampton County school districts proposed facility improvements in the public and quasi-public category, as well as community supportive uses like the expansion of the Nazareth YMCA and local utility upgrades. Overall, Northampton County's development pattern reflects a steady commercial growth, urban reinvestment in cities, and continued expansion of service-oriented uses in suburban townships. To guide our communities in addressing these emerging land uses, we developed the Lehigh County Industrial Land Use Guide with the support from Lehigh County. This guide is the companion to our 2022 Northampton County Freight-Based Land Use Guide, which focused on managing freight impacts from the rapid growth of warehouses and focused more on the tools of zoning and subdivision and land development ordinances to minimize the impacts of that growth. The Lehigh County Industrial Guide is a practical how-to resource designed to help municipalities understand the emerging land uses such as data centers and evolutions in logistics and advanced manufacturing industries we wrote about in 2022. Grounded in the MPC, the guide equips communities with tools to manage impacts, review development proposals, and plan proactively for long-term economic stability and quality of life. In the end of January, we held a training on the guide for municipal officials focused on how to implement the guides in their communities, and then followed up with community trainings in February, which focused more on educating the public on how these emerging land uses and what residents can do to help guide their municipalities. And with that, I'll hand it over to Susan to talk about some of our environmental initiatives.
Oh, there it is, okay. Sorry, a little on the short side. Thanks, Jacob. So I'm really pleased to summarize some of our major environmental initiatives, starting with the Pathways to a Resilient Greater Lehigh Valley. We completed this with many of our regional partners. This is our Regional Climate Action Plan and Carbon Emission Reduction Plan. It was submitted to the U.S. EPA in December, and it fulfills a key outcome of the EPA's Carbon Pollution Reduction Grant Program. The plan actually covers a unique area. It's our metropolitan statistical area. So that includes 4 counties and 2 states. So Lehigh and Northampton County, but also Carbon County in Pennsylvania and Warren County in New Jersey. The plan includes a variety of technical analysis, emissions inventory, reduction targets, goals, objectives, and a region-wide co-pollutant analysis. We also looked at a workforce planning analysis and, of course, implementation and monitoring strategies. And during the year, we held workshops here and also in Carbon and Warren counties. And we were really, really excited to hear about everyone's ideas for reducing our carbon footprint. The steps outlined in the plan really are not just environmental initiatives and strategies, they're investments in the long-term vitality, livability, and resilience of the region. By working together, we believe residents, businesses, local governments, and community organizations can build momentum toward a cleaner, healthier, and more sustainable Greater Lehigh Valley. We are really looking forward to working with the county on our future implementation strategies. Is it this one? Oh, yeah, there we go. Another initiative that we're so excited about is the preparation of our Lehigh Valley Watershed Assessment and Stormwater Management Ordinance Update. This is our project to actually update all 15 of our stormwater watershed ordinances and plans. We're doing this as a comprehensive project, and this is really an initiative that's kind of, I think, very unique for us. We're actually working on a very specific Lehigh Valley model to understand how our watersheds react to the different rainfall events. We've been collecting data. We have been working with our amazing data team, and they are actually creating our own model using AI technology to understand the reaction of stormwater in the region, and that's going to help us update our ordinances and include things like green stormwater infrastructure as well. So we're really excited about this. You'll be hearing a lot more about this as the year goes on, so we're really excited about that. And then the other project I wanted to quickly summarize is our Lehigh Valley Trail Connection Strategy. So we have completed the Trail Connection Strategy work. This is a project to update the trail gap analysis that was done in 2013, and we've been collaborating with our regional partners, our county and municipal partners, local officials, and of course, working with all of our staff to update this list of our major trail, bike and pedestrian trails in the region. We worked with our partners, the DNL Heritage Corridor, our friends at the Link Trail Network, to identify significant trail infrastructure gaps in the region, and we used a weighting criteria to determine which trail gaps were the most critical. We evaluated 56 identified trail gaps, and this was identified through our outreach, or these gaps were identified in adopted plans across the region. It's really a regional approach. We're really coordinating the trail data and planning efforts across the whole valley, elevating local planning efforts to show some real regional significance, identifying connections that support the regional plan and have a high impact on multimodal connectivity across the entire region. And we also wanted to make sure we were highlighting many different the gaps across the region to enhance the opportunities to get some funding to close those gaps. So we are going to, in the coming weeks, we are releasing the Trail Connection Strategy, which again will help our partners acquire the funding to help close those gaps and create an amazing network here in the Valley. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Steve to talk about our transportation initiatives.
Thank you, Susan. In 2025, LVPC undertook several important transportation planning initiatives. We began work on phase 2 of the electric vehicle infrastructure program by analyzing where charging infrastructure should be expanded, ranging from on-street charging to retail parking lots to public lots and even to event venues and office building lots. This process, which considered both land use and the transportation network, prioritizes key locations for investment by the public and private sectors to install charging infrastructure. We will work with our local partners to pursue funding opportunities that are expected to open later this year. We also worked with our partners in both counties at the United Way of the Greater Lehigh Valley and AARP on a walk audit program that identified high-use locations where pedestrians face safety or accessibility concerns that can be addressed by future investments. That included an interactive implementation portal where volunteers from across the region can not only see audit information, but add from their own experiences. This portal tracks investments and progress towards making the region safer for pedestrians and cyclists. This included the largest investment in the region's history into pedestrian, cyclist, and transit safety by the Lehigh Valley Transportation Study. We have also been working on updating the functional classification of our roadways, which is how roadways are categorized, such as local, collector, or arterial, based on their current use and their role within the overall transportation network. This ensures more accurate planning, appropriate funding allocation, and effective performance monitoring. We officially kicked off the roadway functional classification update in February of last year. The update received approval from the LVTS technical and coordinating committees in September, and earlier this year we received approval from PennDOT, and the proposal has since been forwarded to FHWA for final federal approval. In 2025, we worked to allocate a total of $11.386 million in funding to 14 projects in the region through 2 federal funding initiatives. The Carbon Reduction Program is a federal initiative created under the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act to help states reduce transportation-related carbon emissions. Administered by the Federal Highway Administration, the program provides funding for projects like bike and pedestrian infrastructure, traffic flow improvements, public transit enhancements, and electric vehicle charging stations. Its goal is to make transportation systems more efficient, sustainable, and environmentally friendly while supporting long-term climate and air quality goals. The Transportation Alternative Set-Aside is a federal funding program also created under the IIJA that supports smaller transportation projects focused on community and environmental benefits. TASA projects include sidewalks, bike lanes, multi-use trails, safe routes to school initiatives, and streetscape improvements. The program aims to enhance safety and expand travel options and improve quality of life in our communities. Two projects that LVTS helped fund that advance the Bi-County Comprehensive Plan and specific Northampton County goals include the South Bethlehem Greenway, which was allocated $500,000 in TASA funds to help close the last gap in connecting nearly a mile along previous rail right-of-way from the existing South Bethlehem Greenway to the northern terminus of the Saucon Valley Rail Trail in Hellertown. We also funded the Easton Downtown Traffic Calming and Pedestrian Accommodation Improvements with $1 million in CRP funding to install traffic calming and pedestrian measures along Northampton Street, supporting a safer multimodal corridor for pedestrians to connect to the city's parks, commercial districts, amenities, and transit options. In December, we awarded a contract to a team led by Michael Baker International that will help us identify a mobility, safety, and congestion management plan for Route 22. This plan is essential for ensuring that the Valley's main street supports our growing population and economy. We expect the report to be delivered at the end of the year. The project was funded by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and USDOT through a $1 million grant to the LVPC. And finally, at the end of 2025, we put together the annual list of obligated projects. It is a federally required listing of highway, bridge, and transportation projects, including investments in pedestrian walkways and bicycle infrastructure, for which federal funds have been obligated in the preceding year. It acts as a list of accomplishments showing the funding that has been allocated to the region and the many successful projects that move the region forward. $92,846,000 in TIP project investments were completed over the last year and open for public use, along with another $401,659,000 in projects under construction throughout the region. Transportation funding comes to the region through Congress, and matching funds are secured through the Pennsylvania legislature and planned for investment through the Lehigh Valley Transportation Study. We also did quite a bit of transportation-related training, and I'm going to turn it over to Matt, who will talk to you more about that.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, we trained close to 400 students last year in our Lehigh Valley Government Academy. We have a partnership with the Pennsylvania Municipal Planning Education Institute. We do community planning, zoning, and development classes. These are the classes that you have a lot of zoning board members and planning board members, and 80 of them took those classes last year. We also have a partnership with PennDOT to do the local technical assistance program. 299 students did that. That's for infrastructure improvements and maintenance in communities, and that's actually free. And we have one of the most highly attended classes in the state because we promote it. And we also do a general assembly. We do 2 of those a year, and that's a thing where we bring together representatives from every municipality, school district, legislative districts across the region just to talk about important policy matters. We tell them what we're doing, and we get an idea what they're facing. More than 100 folks attended that last year. Just so happens that we have one coming up on Tuesday, and you're all invited. You probably all got email invites. And that agenda is packed. It's at 7 o'clock Tuesday. The governor's office is going to do a presentation on the state housing plan. We're going to do a presentation on our housing plan, and we're going to talk about how the two work together. Jill is going to have some of what you saw today on the development from last year. Oh, that's right. What am I doing? There we go. And we're also going to have a National Association of Counties presentation on reauthorizing the infrastructure bill and how that is a local issue and how you can help. And finally, we're going to do an update on future LV, the regional plan, also how you can help. We're going to be calling on you. We also do a lot of work in the community. We In addition to hosting more than 80 public meetings, I know I couldn't believe we did that many when we counted them up, staff also provided expert presentation and testimony during more than 24 events across the region, state, and nation. Those include workshops in the community, those include classroom instruction, expert panels, and also hosting legislative hearings such as Governor Shapiro's roundtable on housing and the Senate policy hearing on energy. We also offer our expertise at many areas, such as Becky's participation in the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine's Transportation Research Board, which developed a collaboration model that's now going to be used by transportation organizations around the country. Finally, we also try to make our reach go as far as possible. So we have relationships with mass media. We have a regular column in the Morning Call that on Sundays reaches 67,000 devices and doorsteps. We have a monthly radio show that goes on Lehigh Valley Public Radio every Monday night, every first Monday night at 6:30. And we also have a relationship with the Lehigh Valley Business Journal. They run our development snapshot, and that goes to 12,000 subscribers. So we get as much of our word out as possible. And I'm going to turn it over to Becky to kind of bring us home.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, so you heard a little bit about what's going on last year, and some of that continues into this year, like the what to do with Route 22 strategy and the global stormwater management plan. By the way, I have to brag about that one just one more time. The Act 167 state law, which everybody just calls it Act 167, but it's a stormwater management law. It requires counties to have these watershed by watershed plans. Well, you have to keep them updated, but if you have 15 watersheds to do plans for, and each plan takes 2 years, you see how that update cycle is just constant and never ending. So we went to DEP, Jeff Reese, Susan Myeroff, myself, a couple of the other team, and said, hey, wouldn't it be more efficient if we did all these watersheds at the same time? And they kind of said, well, yeah, it would, but we're not sure if we can do that. So it took us a couple years to be able to mobilize on this, and now we're able to mobilize on it. We raised funds from PEMA, FEMA, DEP. You guys have provided key match money to keep that coming in and to meet that county requirement for watershed planning. But one of the things I think that is really important is we did get authorization to update all of them at the same time. That saves a whole lot of money and a whole lot of time. But what it did is it allowed us to not just build an internal model that models what happens in each watershed, but it allows us to build a model that also shows how the watersheds interact with each other, so we can have maximum clean water. And support that is every land development plan, once those plans are complete and the associated ordinances are adopted, every land development plan in the entire Lehigh Valley will have to conform to that single ordinance for the entire region that assures that we don't have impacted streams, waterways, and keeps our drinking water clean. So it's a point of pride for us as we go through this to be that real leader in the Commonwealth and hopefully in the country, in being able to bring so many communities and counties together to meet these broader water goals that are not only important for drinking water, but for our industrial sector and our wildlife and everything else. We will start working on the housing strategy in the congestion management plan. I think we're missing a bullet there. There's not a housing strategy congestion management plan, but a congestion management plan, and that's the roadway part. You'll hear more about that. I think a number of everybody's heard that we were able to raise some funding to do the phase 2 to see if we actually can support passenger rail. We were able to raise $400,000 for that. We're still waiting for one of the 2 grant agreements for that. That does not require a match from either county. We were, doesn't require a match from you guys. Lehigh County matched the state funding to make that happen on behalf of everyone. And in that process, once we get the grant agreement, final grant agreement signed, we'll be putting out an RFP and hiring a consultant to follow that federal process. So that'll allow us to look at what routes are viable, because you have to look at all of them under the federal requirements. So that would be the new North Jersey route, the Philly route, and then we have to look at the Reading route. And then they have to make metric-based decisions to see how it would move forward. So that would also be costs, preferred operator, it could be anyone from New Jersey Transit to Lanta to Amtrak and you have to figure that out as well. So that's what that next phase will do. So it'll have some econometric analysis involved with that too. We'll also be doing a region-wide transportation safety plan. This is important because Easton is doing its transportation safety plan. Allentown just did theirs. But what about everybody else, right? And if you don't have one of these federally organized plans with all the requirements the federal government has, you can't access money for those transportation improvements that we all desperately need across all of our communities. So that'll be a big deal for us to be able to work with all the local governments and then bring all the things into the plan that are important for our region. So
Really
just
quick, Ms.
Oh,
Bradley.
sorry.
That's okay. We're going to need to wrap up in just
Sure.
a minute here.
I'm almost done.
Just wanted to let you know.
Thank you.
I could go on and on with this for 3-4 hours.
Yeah,
but
I
we
know,
don't
me
have that
too,
time.
sorry. Okay, so, I believe it was Jill, Matt, somebody mentioned, we're updating your bi-county comprehensive plan right now. That has to be done on at least a 10-year cycle. We all agreed in 2018 we would do it on an 8-year cycle because we could match it up with that, the transportation funding component and really draw in that transportation land use connection. We're going to broaden out that open call for projects to all infrastructure, and we'll be working on that in the summertime. We'll be doing some strategy labs on specific subjects and with specific types of communities, like the boroughs have different needs than certain townships and those sorts of things, and looking at all the different aspects of community that are required to go in that county comprehensive plan, doing that open call for projects in June and July, and then we'll be working on the policy development through the end of the year so we can get a plan to you to begin the adoption process once we've got that draft edited, probably at the end of the first quarter, about this time next year. So you can start to consider that for adoption as well. Lehigh County will have to do the same, so will the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation and U.S. Department of Transportation, and then we can move into implementation once that's complete. And our last slide is this one. So the Future LV, the regional plan, is the umbrella strategy. It brings everybody's stuff together. We've been working hard on that specific Lehigh Valley housing supply and attainability strategy. I believe it's next week on the 10th, we're going to release a draft of the policy of that and have a comment period before we finalize that. But those are the key details on that specific issue. So you'll be receiving an email for that. Please take a look, comment, and get us information back. Send it out to people who care about housing. We want to hear more from them on that draft. And that really is the how we're going to deal with the housing issue. And then lastly, where does housing go? But also, what brownfields need to still be redeveloped. You guys are a little ahead of the curve on that than most places are. But also, where do we have infill opportunities? Where do we have blighted property opportunities that can be remediated? And putting all that together into a single Lehigh Valley Community Economic Development Strategy through the U.S. Economic Development Administration is something that we're working towards this year, and we'll be kicking that off. We're already collecting all of the data through the regional plan effort. LVEDC finished their strategic plan with what industries and businesses that they were going to target and support. But how do we bring that together to ensure that we have the sewer, the water, and really keeping the growth where it needs to go instead of going out further and further and further into green fields and on environmentally sensitive lands? And that's really the where. So that will be done semi-simultaneously and hope to have that adopted towards the end, or prepared for adoption at the end of 2027, beginning of 2028. So we're making sure that we're puzzle piecing everything together and bringing in stuff like from the Workforce Board and in the like to make sure we have a really, truly cohesive, sustainable region and don't end up looking like the places that a lot of people left to move here, right? Because it's great. So that will help us with our quality of life and our economy as well. Thank you.
Got to tell you, a fantastic presentation. Again, I wish we could dive into this more during this committee, but, well, that just means we need to bring you back at some
We'll come
point
back
down the
anytime.
road, for sure. Really quick, does anybody on the committee have any quick comments or quick questions for the Planning Commission? All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone.
I do have.
Oh,
sorry.
Jason, sorry.
Chair.
Mr. Bullet, yes.
Just a couple quick questions. The dashboard that you showed, I love that. One thing I would love to see on there is more information about the housing needs in each municipality. It shows the current ownership, the median costs, the rental unit breakdown, but I'd like to see more information on, what each municipality needs as we're talking about the overall shortage of housing units. And then if we could get some historical data on there as well, I think that would be great, showing, where was this municipality 5 years ago, 10 years ago, towards meeting its housing needs and moving forward.
Okay. Okay.
That's something I think would be useful. The slide about the multiple municipal plans, I liked that one. One question I had about that, so Plan Slate Belt, I was actually one of the members of the Wayne Gap Borough Council that voted for that.
Thank
So
you.
I'm very supportive of Plan Slate Belt. However, we did have 3 townships that dropped out of Plan Slate Belt during its development, which was unfortunate. One of the biggest advantages of multi-municipal plans is being able to have certain zoning not in each municipality and have it spread out where it needs to be. And so losing those 3 townships was a big loss. As you're looking towards doing additional multi-municipal plans in other areas, are you coming up with strategies to address some of the concerns that those townships had that prompted them to drop out?
Those are all 3, they're 2 different issues going on with that. The one had almost 100% turnover of its township supervisors, and there was not necessarily, they wanted to chart their own course, if that makes sense. And the group actually entertained them for quite a long time to get some of those new supervisors caught up, and then eventually the group decided that it didn't make sense for that township to stay in any longer, and that township wasn't interested in staying in any longer. So that was mutual amongst the group. And then the other 2, there was a really divisive development proposed in Upper Mount Bethel Township. And that created some issues of trust between the communities up there. And so that bubbled into a common set of goals, which is really what a comprehensive plan is. And the one community decided to leave. The other community adopted the plan, stayed in, and then new supervisors came in, and through a giant misinformation campaign, then they decided to withdraw from the plan after they had adopted it. Currently, they have no comprehensive plan in violation of the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code. The one community that did pull out is now likely to see a hyperscale data center. And we understand that they are amenable to that and are writing legislation to actually support the development of that hyperscale data center. So if they would have stayed in, whether you agree with that or not, right, that's not the issue, that would have protected the rest of them from having to plan for a hyperscale data center. So, I mean, it is what it is, but to your point, there's benefits in working together on just developing a common set of goals, because that's really what a comprehensive plan is.
Quite frankly, as chair of this committee, I would like to bring Planning Commission back to talk about data centers at some point in the future, foreseeable future, and to talk about an array of other issues, whether it's the electric vehicle infrastructure plan and also manufactured homes as well. There was 0 here in Northampton County. Be that as it may, and we have to get to our next presentation here. So with that being said, thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Fantastic presentation. And again, we'd love to have you come back at some point in the near future.
Thank you for allowing us to be your planning commission.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, we have a presentation from a nonprofit in our local region here, Joshway. David Robertson is the man running the ship over there. Looking forward to your presentation, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Set my timer here. Just want to be mindful of time. Good evening. Good to see some familiar faces here. Before I get started, I like to start these conversations off with just a moment of reflection. And for me, I think about our youth. I think about my loved ones, my cousins, all the little ones that are growing up in a very challenging age. And so today, I'm just going to ask you to take a journey with me through this mission called Josh Way. It's personal, it's full of life, inspiration, it has its moments. But a little bit about me, I'm David Robertson. I'm the founder and executive director of Josh Way, a local nonprofit right here in the Easton area. I've been in the Lehigh Valley for over 15 years. I was born in Houston, Texas, raised in Oklahoma. I work for a fast-paced company called Shift4 by day. I've been there for over 24 years. I've helped take that organization public. I've led mergers and acquisitions. I've done sales. I was there when I was 19. I'm 42 now. So I've seen a lot. I've done a lot. And so you'll see in this journey that I'm going to take you on, as we go to the next page, I think I can flip that. About 5 years ago, I got some bad news. I lost a little one, a younger brother named Joshua Robertson. Josh was an amazing young kid. He was beautiful. He was an athlete. He was a musician. But like our youth, he dealt with mental health. He took a Xanax. It had fentanyl in it. And I got the phone call from my dad about 5 years ago saying Josh is, he's no longer with us. And that rocks you to your core. But for me, coming from a family of warriors, I leaned into everything I knew how to do with these hands. And I said, Josh, I promise you that no young kid will feel invisible ever again. And from that promise, I started Josh Way. And it's a mission to ensure that no young kid feel unseen. What happened to Josh? Unacceptable. And so from there, I'm not from the nonprofit space. I'm from fintech, financial technology. But I seek to understand modern day challenges and problems. And so with that, I said, I'm going to jump into this pool of community service, and I'm going to figure out how to show up for the young kids all over the Lehigh Valley. And so from there, I started looking at what our youth is going through today. Man, they're under a lot of pressure. And the pressure that I see is coming from all different angles, whether it's the home, whether it's technology, which we'll get into that in a second. I think about my boys, and I'm like, this is a very, very challenging time. And so when you look at the numbers, I think we all can agree that our youth is under a lot of pressure. That 19% of our beautiful kids thinking about suicide is unacceptable. Josh didn't have the mechanism to cope. He didn't have a Josh Way. And so he leaned in on the bad things, which took his life eventually. The mental health support, thinking about the devices and how they're disrupting. That was my case study, looking at Pew Research, looked at Young Futures, all the trailblazers, Sesame Street. Everyone's trying to unlock this digital pressure that the youth are under. And so, being that I love to solve problems, I said, well, I think I can help. So next slide. But one thing that I salute my father, Anthony Stephen Robertson, he was an amazing father figure to me. He's no longer with us either. He was actually the very first black police officer in Claremore, Oklahoma, land of Will Rogers, if you've been out in Tornado Alley. But he showed us how to fight. And I said, Dad, every Robertson, we know how to do three things like great boxers. We know how to play the ropes, take a hit, and get up. And so I was not going to let life take me in. I was going to fight back, and I was going to take that positivity and that energy, and I was going to bring it into Josh Way. So with that, you will see how we respond. We transform pressure into purpose. At Josh Way, we see opportunity in spite of adversity. Technology doesn't have to overwhelm the youth. Coming from fintech, we can equip the youth. They can create, they can design. We live in a digital age. They just need a little help. So with that mental attitude, we went on, and I started looking at things that I've learned in my life. And I really started to see something, and I came up with 3 words: to inspire, learn, and lead. That's what the generation needs. I'm honored that I had this calling in my heart to step up for the youth. I'm 42 years old. I sit between two generational gaps. I am that bridge. Josh Way is that bridge. So from there, we started to think about our theory of change. So if we go out and try to solve problems, what is the transformation that we want to see in our kids? I close my eyes and I see the kids thriving in the digital age. I see them full of life, and I see them fighting and playing the ropes and fighting back and not letting the silly things of social media distract them. I see me being a cheerleader and accessing, giving them access, opportunity, and connection. Or like we would say, to inspire, learn, and lead. So with that, we came up with an idea of let's put some programming together and with intention. Let's teach life skills. Let's teach digital literacy. And then give them a chance to apply that. Let them pledge, let them show up, and then let them lead eventually. Because I've seen there's nothing more powerful than giving our youth something real and responsible to own, and let us rally around them. And then let's multiply what we've done. Let them be the future alumni. Because I believe leaders create leaders. So with that, as we go through this journey, I'm all about, I'm an ops guy, so, I look at a process. I don't like extra parts. I'm like, redundant, get rid of it. So I looked at this beautiful community, the Lehigh Valley. A lot of them here in the Easton area. Beautiful. Project of Easton, only to name a few. Boys and Girls Club, Dean Young down the street here. I don't want to compete with that. They're amazing. They're doing awesome work. But maybe I can fill the gaps. Maybe I can bring ideas to them, uplift and amplify what already exists. So I decided to take on a servant's role. And that role is to be of service to the public and private schools, to the youth-focused nonprofits. They're already doing the awesome work. But maybe if we can plug in where there's pressure and bring our ideas, maybe 1 + 1 can equal a bigger number. And so that's who we serve. Josh Way, we serve what exists already. We don't want to be an extra part, another nonprofit that has the same rails. But let's run behind what exists because they're doing such awesome work. They just need a little help. And maybe my generation can step in and fill that gap. So we go where the youth are. We find them. As you can see the list here, that's where all the young kids are at. So then we get into the programming. I'm visionary. I'm bold. I tell my boss all the time, I can build you a rocket ship if I wanted to. But this is what I want to build. I want to build awesome stuff for this world because I'm a creator. I believe what's possible. I am that bold warrior. And now let's show the light to the kids. But I needed to create some things first to do that. So the first thing that I created was I'm passionate about life skills. Financial literacy, like these are basic life skills. I call it the onboarding of life. If Josh had financial literacy, maybe his life would have been different. If he could know how to regulate his emotions through mental health practices, maybe that would have made a difference. Be able to advocate for his self, being able to speak and articulate his mind through critical thinking, maybe that would have helped him. Saying, Josh, you can go to college. You can be the next entrepreneur. And instead of letting the social media define you, stop scrolling and go for a run. And as I thought about all the things that could have changed his life, I said, well, I think we need a Josh Way bridge. So what is it? It's a leadership program that I designed that I guide the kiddos through 5 different life skills. It's community focused, money smarts. I don't teach that, but a local bank does. Health and well-being, the Kelly Foundation. I think Eric, Ruth, I think it is. Amazing friend, he helps me with that. Speak Up and Shine, Toastmasters International, Future Ready, Northampton Community College, Digital Knowledge, we'll get into that. So many people are willing to help, but they just need a wireframe. So I don't need to write this curriculum, but if I can find the ones that do and plug them into this beautiful wireframe as a project manager, then we can mobilize as an army, put together a best-in-class experience For who? For the youth. For them to be seen and be heard. So I created the Joshua Bridge. It's a beautiful experience if you see it. I've ran it in pilot phase last year. Keep in mind, Joshua's been around for 2.5 years. If I didn't say that again. Wow, we've done all that? Yes, and we're just getting started. And so to be able to tie every life skill together in an onboarding experience, it hits different. It ties the money pressure into the health and wellness, ties into the public speaking, ties into going to school, ties into how tech can be used to power the future. And when I saw that for the first time and watching the kids elevate and grow, I knew I built something pretty special. And I didn't have to teach the curriculum. I just had to build the wireframe. And so we've piloted that in a couple of schools out in a nonprofit, the Allentown Miller Symphony Hall, my friends at El Sistema. We have conversations with Ms. Piazza here and Dr. Benita Draper to continue building these Joshua bridges, which I know how to model and deploy it wherever the need is there. So then we look at the next page is an example of Money Smarts. There you see the kids. You'll see what we do is we tie technology into life skills, meeting the youth where they're at. They grew up on technology. So I figured let's meet them where they're at. So as they're talking about budgeting and confidence and making real financial decisions, yes, there is an iPad there just to show them that healthy tech is okay. We need more balance. The next slide here, I was really thrown aback when I did not hear enough conversation around healthy technology. I have an awesome team around me. I know I'm here today, but and there's an army behind me, 9 board members, an advisory board, so many family and friends. The Lehigh Valley is behind me. That's how I'm here today. They said yes to me. They gave me a chance, and I showed them thank you for giving me that chance. And I salute them every day, saying thank you for seeing my heart and wanting me to build. But one thing I saw was, well, where's the digital diet? Where's the conversations with the parents in the schools, teaching kids to have healthy tech habits? So I have some friends that used to work for an amazing organization, Apple, if you know it, and I asked them if they would want to help me go into the classrooms and teach healthy tech habits, so parental controls and sharing and focus modes. And as you can see, the rules are coming down on the schools, taking the phone away from the kid. Well, how are you going to support the families? How are you going to support the staff members? You can do that, but you're going to cause a reaction. The parents are busy, the schools are busy, but there's Joshua, once again, the bridge, to say, let us help run these digital diet workshops. We've done it for Parkland. We have conversations again here in Easton. And Bethlehem, we ran one just the other night where families came together, longing and thirsting for this information. Where are they going to get it? So I said, we need to build this digital wellness pillar. So that's what you're seeing under the digital diet, and that's one of our programs. The next is our Joshua Lab experience. We're starting to get into our technology side of things. You'll see there's life skills and digital literacy. It just comes down to those two things. And that's our building on 913 Northampton Street, right in the West Ward. In the picture there is a gentleman teaching the kiddos, which is actually Boys and Girls Club of Easton. Show them how to build with GarageBand if you're into that thing. Tie it into podcasting. And then it was really cool how they were able to make their theme song, the soundtrack of their life. Boom, 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 and hear the music playing, and that young person in the middle stage, all eyes on them saying, that was awesome. We created that moment. That was a Joshua move. So that's happening down at 913 Northampton Street, and in the lower right-hand corner, there's another awesome group, Boys and Girls Club of Bethlehem, that came down to participate. And in the middle, there's 2 awesome young kids from Northampton Community College. That's Peter and Jameson. You want to go to Fox News, Fox Sports Radio with me? We're sponsoring some young podcasters. They're doing their thing in 913 Northampton Street. Man, I wish I was on the other line when I was that parent, when I heard my kid for the first time on public radio. Another Joshua moment. We created that. Shining light and making opportunities for these kids. That's what it's all about. And those are just some of the things that we're doing right at 913 Northampton Street. It's a laboratory to train the hands. to inspire. We're doing some 3D printing workshops soon. We've talked about bringing other community leaders in to run our digital diet, maybe. That's a collaboration hub. We secured the building. I built it to promote and provoke interaction. I think we work too much in silos. So just as I believe if we can huddle and rally at a common place like the Joshua Building, I think we can do some awesome stuff together. And that's just the beginning. We got that building not too long ago. We did a ribbon cutting last year. And then you had the summertime and the fall time. So we're quickly trying to, fill that space with awesome opportunities. Mother Nature, she was really angry this winter, so that delayed us, but that building is there, and we're really excited. It's a beautiful place if you haven't been there.
Mr. Robertson, really quick, we're going to need to get to our Human Services Committee meeting in a little bit, so just wanted to throw that out there for you.
Okay, yeah, no problem. And so as we go through the last piece here, just a couple of slides from some of the young kids that we've worked with, Ayeka and Cam, Isaiah, the podcasters. You're seeing just some of the kids that we've touched and some of the awesome opportunities that we've created. So what we'll do is we'll skip ahead and we'll go to this page here, which is from promise to action. So what we've done is a proof of concept. We've worked with over 300 plus families, 5+ student projects, strategic partnerships. We have a home. We're a United Way partner. We're EITC approved. We have an endowment. We have letters of support from Easton, the West Ward, even the county. I mean, we've kept our promise. I've kept my promise to Josh. So now it's all about where do we go next, which I'll go from here. So from pilot to scale to sustainability. And that's where we are today. Doing more of what I told you. I just hit it on a few stories. But there's more to do. We're in that proving stage. Now it's time to scale and sustain. And so I'm asking all my family and friends and community leaders, will you help us bring more light to these kiddos? And last slide here is what that looks like for us is we want to secure our building. It was sponsored. This is our last year. If we don't secure it, we have to move out. We want operational support to do more of those things. And so as Joshua has cracking that glass ceiling, there's ice on the shoulders. We need that extra push. And then we can really pour in and give back to the Easton area. And so with that, to cut time here, that is the Joshua story. And I left a little packet for each one of you to go through there. There is a vision that I have for Easton, also a letter of who I am. But I just want to thank you, Jeff, for having me here today and the committee here. And thank you for taking time to hear the Joshua story.
We appreciate the work that you do, and I can say that I have experienced Joshua up close and personal and in a number of ways. And just a few months ago, when a few of those kiddos jumped on my podcast that I have been doing for close to 13 years now, and it was great not to have a credentialed reporter that followed the Phillies or the Eagles or whatever on. There were 3 kiddos who I truly enjoyed speaking with and created a different dynamic. And through that, we were able to do something pretty special on that podcast episode. So you're doing great work. And I'd ask does anybody from the committee have any questions or comments before we have to wrap up here and go to Human Services? I do, but we don't have time, so I'll reach out to you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Yes, we will send the presentation to everyone as well.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Mr. Robertson, thank you. And we are going to adjourn economic development.